My name is Hannah Jervis, and our speech topic is mass shootings and how we can eliminate the problem completely. My group members are Kara Miller, Hannah Halbert, Keithan Harris, Ryan Hall, Amanda Tackett, and Karina Robinson. So when someone says the phrase mass shooting, what instantly comes to mind? For some people, they recall events like the Columbine school shooting, the Orlando nightclub shooting, or maybe even the Sandy Hook shooting. All these tragic events left our country in shock and at a loss for words. A mass shooting is defined as an act in which four or more people, not including the shooter, are killed. The main question being asked is why. Why someone would want to injure a race of people or discriminate against someone's sexuality, or even hurt kids. It boils down to mental health awareness and gun control laws. Mass shootings are nonetheless a huge problem for the United States. But with new solutions for this growing problem, the violence can be stopped and we can stop the hurt of our nation.
So statistics on the mass shootings we've done in the past 20 years, which is from 1996 to 2016. I got my information from Mother Jones' investigation. It was online. In 96, there was one mass shooting in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was the Fort Lauderdale revenge shooting, and 6 people died in that. In 1997, at Caltrans Maintenance Yard shooting in Orange, California, there were 5 deaths. In 1998, the most deaths were 5, and that was the Connecticut lottery shooting in Newington, Connecticut. In 1999, 13 deaths occurred at the Columbine High School Massacre in Littleton, Colorado. In 2000, the most deaths were 7, and they were at Wakefield Massacre in Massachusetts. The 2001 was Navistar shooting in Melrose Park, Illinois, and 5 deaths occurred. Luckily, in 2002, there weren't any massacres recorded, but in 2003, Lockheed Martin shooting happened in Meriden, Mississippi, and 7 deaths occurred. In 2004, Damage Plan show shooting in Columbus, Ohio, 5 deaths were recorded. In 2005, 10 deaths happened at the Red Lake Massacre in Minnesota. 2006, Goleta postal shootings in Goleta, California, 8 deaths occurred.
On April 6 in 2007, 32 people died at Blacksburg, Virginia during the Virginia Tech massacre. Then a year later, on February 14th in DeKalb, Illinois, the Northern Illinois University shooting killed 6 people. A little over a year later, in 2009, on April 3rd, in Binghamton, New York, the Binghamton shootings killed 14 people. In 2011, the Seal Beach shooting in Seal Beach, California killed 8 people on October 14th. During the summer in Aurora, Colorado, 12 people died on July 20th, 2012 during the Aorta Theater shooting. Almost half a year later in Newton, Connecticut, 28 people died on December 14th during the Newton school shooting. On September 16th, 2013, in our nation's capital, 12 people died during the Washington Navy Yard shooting. But the most recent and the most tragically fatal shootings to happen in recent history happened this year at an Orlando nightclub that killed 49 people the night of June 12th.
The Orlando nightclub shooting. It was the deadliest mass shooting in American history and the deadliest terrorist attack since 9/11. The shooting took place on June 12, 2016. The shooter was an American-born man who had to pledge his service to the terrorist group known as ISIS. The man's name was Omar. He was 29 years old and from Fort Pierce, Florida. On the night of the shooting, Omar had called the police and pledged his allegiance to ISIS during the attack. Omar had on himself an assault rifle and a pistol. When the attack took place around 2 a.m. Sunday, Omar killed 49 people and wounded at least 53 others. After a standoff that lasted about 3 hours, police crashed into the building with an armored vehicle, then shot and then killed Omar. Many witnesses that night at the bar described the state as very confusing with all the loud music and the shows going on at the time. One witness described that the loud shots he thought was just a part of the show until more gunshots kept going off and the screams became louder and louder. Then the state of the whole room became in a state of panic, mass panic, and that's when everyone in the room knew that all their lives were definitely on stake. So this is definitely one of the worst terrorist attacks since 9/11 and the worst mass shooting in American history.
Mostly the Orlando nightclub shooting. You got to talk about mostly the psychology of hate. Psychology of hate is pretty much just what causes people to go into these situations and cause these events of killing multiple people. But when they do it, they don't look at it as good, bad. They think they're just being a normal person of society. They think they're just doing an average thing. It doesn't bother them. But they can also play into multiple things in psychology. It can play into multiple personality disorder and bipolar disorder. But also, there are other things you can talk about when it comes to his psyche. Because also, one reason he could have hated people that were gay, transsexual, etc. was because he could have with his own sexuality. He was fighting with his own sexuality, which caused him to hate those people so much.
Control in relation to mass shootings and how stricter gun control laws can result in less mass shootings and safer communities. Okay, so due to the number of mass shootings in America, many actions have been taken to reduce gun control, or to reduce gun violence throughout the United States. Over the past decade in America, more than 100,000 people have been killed as a result of gun violence. This number is all gun violence in general, not just specific to mass shootings. So, the current laws for gun control include ownership to some degree. It includes placing restrictions on the ownership of certain types of firearms. These include semi-automatic pistols, machine guns, and also double-barreled shotguns. So, if gun control becomes stricter, then less mass shootings will occur throughout America. This could be a solution to the problem that we see in mass shootings every day and every year.
And now we're going to interview some people about their opinions on mass shootings. Okay, so what's your opinion on the past mass shootings, and how do you think we can prevent the problem?
Mass shootings in American history, there have been way too many innocent lives taken over things that we can prevent. I'm not saying that we should take guns away completely, because us as citizens, we need some form of protection, especially in like today's society. But I don't think that we should be able to go and like purchase a military, like a gun that people in the military would use, like a machine gun or something. That's just ridiculous. Like, you don't need that much protection. And to even be eligible to take the test to purchase a gun, I think that there should be tests ran, like MRI, CT scans, to check like your mental stability and like background checks, like criminal records, which most of the time the perpetrators don't even have any criminal records. They haven't done anything, but obviously they show signs of mental they're just mental disabilities. So we can prevent them from even getting a gun, and we should, because the problem has risen in the past few years and too many people's lives have been taken.
Well, like she said first, she talked about how there's been a lot of mass shootings. And my biggest problem with this is everyone blames guns. And it has nothing to do with guns whatsoever, because I can literally go around school and stab 15 people, and I mean, it'd be the same outcome as using a gun. But besides the school shooting, most of the mass shootings, if more people took advantage of the concealed carry weapon permit and actually went out and got their concealed carry, I mean, they could prevent so many more mass shootings. So Lauren also said, talking about how you can go out and buy and purchase pretty much any kind of military or weapon. And I'm a law-abiding citizen, and the NRA, there's like, you know, millions and millions of people in the NRA. So my personal belief is their personal belief, and we all kind of have the same view on it. I do not think that even if President Trump, you know, future President Trump even tried to come out and take this right away to have these military weapons, I don't think it would pass just because the NRA is too large. But there's a lot of background checks that goes in effect, which she mentioned. She said, you know, you got to have your background checks and stuff. But I don't think she knows the actual background checks that goes in to, like, when you're getting like your Class 3 license, get an automatic weapon, or, you know, such. You go through so many screenings in the ATF, and, you know, the ATF, they'll have like 3 business days. But the only thing bad about that is if they don't screen you and get everything proceeded in 3 days, then the sale must go on. So some people do slip through the cracks right there. But every now and then a red flag will pop up. So it kind of, you know, it kind of evens out, and a lot of times it keeps stuff, you know, from getting too serious. But I believe that there should always be allowed to be able to purchase military weapons, just because, you know, the Revolutionary War wasn't won with fists. I'm not trying to say our government's going to backstab us one day, but it's always good to be prepared.
First off, during the Revolutionary War times, there wasn't some crazy lunatics that would go shooting around schools and stuff, because that stuff didn't exist. And back then, everybody kind of had the same moral values. They believed that all their mindset was to gain independence from Britain. They weren't thinking, let me go shoot a bunch of helpless kids.
I don't mean to interrupt her at all, but she answered her own question in the sentence that she just said. They had their own moral values. Modern day kids do not have moral values. That's the problem. It's not the guns at all. I mean, if you fix the moral values and teach people the right ways, then you're not going to have these problems. You're still going to have bad apples.
Another point that I was going to make, if he would have waited. I do realize that it's not the guns. Clearly guns that don't have minds of their own and just don't go shooting around people.
The guns have gotten in the wrong hands due to them not being stricter on gun control and gun control laws. The serious last gun control to ever happen was of like 1996, and that was like 22 years ago. And it really hasn't changed since. People can still go and purchase a gun without medical background checks, but it shouldn't be that way. But this has been our video for oral communications. So, okay, gun control is necessary in order to have a peaceful city, country, and world. Without gun control, many lives will be taken for unnecessary reasons, and not only should things be settled in a different way than just violence, but violence is never the answer. And those who do not support gun control show that they are violent and are not thinking in terms of safeness for all. And that's one of the reasons as to why I feel gun control and safety is very important. The first reason that I feel gun control should be in existence is because without law saying otherwise, a gun can be in anyone's hand. If stricter gun laws were made, then more lives could be saved. And not only should there be a standard background check, but I'm also a strong supporter of medical background checks, because a lot of the mass shooting murders have had a history of really psychiatric and medical problems that no one ever knew of because they didn't ever done a medical background check. So another reason that I feel that gun control should be enforced is because if not, then like I said, a mentally unstable person could get their hands on a gun or, you know, a weapon and do something that is out of their control. But by allowing someone unstable to have a gun, people are just setting themselves up for a very disastrous situation. Another reason as to why I feel like we should have a stricter ban on gun control is because it's very effective in safety-wise. Like, not only is it unsafe just for anyone to have a gun, it's also unsafe for everyone, trained or not trained, to just walk around and have a gun.